What's going on, everyone? This is Zachy Zan. I'm doing Digimon Time Stranger. I'm doing this as like a preface. I'm bringing a friend in, and we're going to talk about stuff that's not entirely related to Digimon, but I am going to do the content. This is going to be a commentated Let's Play, but the commentary may or may not be actually about the game. This is more so an in-depth conversation with the game as a background. Yo.
Hello?
Hello?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Can't complain.
You said what? You said came to play?
I said I can't complain, but the same thing. I came to play as well.
I like that.
Facts. So just
It's just me and you? Me and you tonight or what?
No, it's just gonna start with me and you because he's the type like I said, he'll go all over the place. But I had some stuff like personally that I wanted to touch base on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And also you don't mind if this conversation is recorded, right?
Man, do your thing.
All right, word. All right, just making sure. I didn't want to find.
No, I appreciate you telling me.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I don't think anything, but yeah. So, what you getting into?
Man, I'm just on my week off right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to relax, chill, and light myself and expand my mind at the same time.
That's a good thing to do with your time off, you know. Yeah, I've been going down like not like different rabbit holes, but you ever heard of this guy on what's it called? Twitter. His name's Brute de Force.
No.
So he's basically like this guy, and he has like this approach to life, like, you know, like the human spirit is a very powerful thing, and basically by tearing it apart and like transforming it is like the path to like success and ascension. He said he says a lot. He's very unorthodox, but he says a lot of things that like basically I would agree with, but there's some things where it's like I'm like, but basically he implies that like as a man, there's you should be suffering. It sounds crazy, but like he's like, if you wake up and you're like happy, like there's not like some, you know, like monster waiting outside your door ready for battle, like then you know you're doing something wrong. Like every day as a man, you need to be taking on all that you can kind of take on. And then I fell into this thing where that like basically I had sent it to you, the idea that that they say that God gives his hardest battles to his strongest stranger. I mean his strongest soldiers. Yeah. And so I implied basically in that regard then the harder the battle, the stronger the soldier. And then going forward, ergo, like you would want harder battles, right? Like as a man or as a person in general, you either want to be the best that you can be by all means, or you know, you don't really. I don't know how else to put it. And I say like there's like it's everyone else. Like I don't judge in a sense of like what people want out of life, but in my life it's like by the time I die, my biggest fear is, you know, having to look back and say, you know, I could have been more. Like I could have tried harder. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
So lately I've been kind of welcoming the challenges. There's like this funny picture. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like a meme.
How old are you again?
I'm 29. And
Right.
I just went through, I don't know if you're into like, if you take any account of like astrology or that, but this is like advanced astrology. You ever heard of a Saturn return?
Saturn return, no.
So it takes, they say, roughly 28 to 32 years, around 29 to 30 on average, for Saturn to return to the place where it was when you were born. And in mythology, they imply that Saturn is this ruler of order, structure, discipline, and in a Saturn return, it will either make you or break you in a sense. It's like your dad coming home from work, like where your dad gave you a bunch of chores and now he's coming home and he's cracking the whip. Like that's what Saturn is in this regard, and it basically like either makes you man up or like it tears you apart basically. And My
So you're
20
saying wait, so okay, so hold on. So you're saying around like age 30,
Yes,
like there's
around age 30 is
that
when it's
choice
your first Saturn
that
return.
that
It's a hard period. It's supposed to be a hard period for most people because most people don't actually understand what's going on. And most people are not structured and or like every planet represents a certain thing and the planet Saturn represents is structure and order and like in theory time well spent. So if you're not someone who
right.
spends
So
your
is that
time well
everyone's
or has
decision?
structure and
Hold
order
on.
or discipline, then Saturn also being the planet of karma will either reward or punish you based on that merit. So I found this, it's funny because I watched the movie The Lord of the Rings like right before my 29th birthday. And I had like this awakening. I had this thought. I was like, is this movie about Saturn? And I looked it up, and apparently there's all this underlying occult symbolism in the movie that, like, yes, it is a form of it's about Saturn a little bit. So I watched this movie like on the eve of my of like not like on the eve but like the weeks leading up to my 29th birthday, and then I went online. I had another hunch. I was like, when does a Saturn return happen? And they were like roughly on a person's 29th birthday. So I'm having all this Saturn symbolism in my life, and I'm like, I'm digging deep. I go online. I'm like looking up, how to manage a Saturn return, all this stuff. But the long story short, it's like it's come to the point where it's like in my regard, it's like God's like, are you ready to become a man? Are you ready, to take hold of your life, like kind of thing? And like, I can't see why anyone would want to say no, but it comes with like a price. Obviously, it's not easy, um, and like so like the idea that like pain, if something's uncomfortable, it's usually pushing you like in the right direction. Does that make sense?
Okay, so hold on. So you're saying around this Saturn thing because age 30 is a difficult number for a lot of people. Like a lot of things
Yes.
happen at age 30.
Yes, and
A lot of people talk about their knees don't work well, their
yeah.
shoulders are different, everyone has to stretch,
Uh
and
huh.
it's just something that happens at 30, and that's what I feel. When I
Yeah.
turned 30,
Yes, it's like a
something happened to me.
yeah, it's a waking. It's I wouldn't say it's like a moment where people wake up. It's like where you either wake up or you kind of just fall apart.
Right. So it's a crossroads at 30. Is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I would say so.
This is
Something along those lines. Yeah, and all
hmm,
astrology people will say that this is
interesting.
basically the root cause of the thing. And it's funny because my boy who's coming in here, he's like 27, 28, but he'll be turning that age soon. I've told him, I was like, bro, look into the Saturn return because I've learned in life when you're consciously aware of the things that are going on around you, I'm not going to say you get to manipulate them, but like you get to work with them. And by working with them, you're basically going to get more out of what it is that you're looking for, depending on what it is,
Working with who?
not like the forces of the universe, the ebbs and the flows, like
Oh,
learning
okay.
learning to swim with the current when it changes directions, kind of thing. That's like
Okay.
yeah, but like the universe, like there's like for I believe in like the planets have these influences on us, and it's like if you know what the influence is and you know how to use it, you can use anything to your advantage. Even something that's supposed to be a time of hardship. Like this is like I would be lying if I turned 29 3 months ago. I would be lying if I said it was easy. But the thing is, it's like I've learned that it's like I don't want it to be easy. Yeah, like I've enjoyed it. It's been a hardship, but like I don't know. Like I keep saying in my head, like give me more. Like if this is what it takes, kind of thing. But have you ever heard of Sisyphus?
No.
I might have mentioned to him before, but Sisyphus is like a Greek mythology story about this guy that went behind Zeus's back a couple times, and so his punishment was when he died. He was sent to this hill, and at the bottom of the hill was this big ass rock, and so what's it called? He has to. His punishment is that every day he wakes up, he has to push this big rock to the top of the hill. And if he ever gets to the top of the rock, he gets to leave this purgatory state that he's in. But the curse is every day, at the end of the day, when he gets to the top of the hill, the rock slips and falls to the bottom. So he's condemned forever, where every day he has to wake up and push this boulder. But this philosopher wrote this article, not that, like this research paper on the idea that Sisyphus might be happy. That our only chance in life is to imagine Sisyphus is happy. Because he's like, this is like all a metaphor, like where as a man or as a person, you have to wake up. Like everyone has to wake up and deal with their problems. You know, they have their own boulder. Life is a boulder, and every day we wake up and we have to push this boulder. And he gets into the idea of explaining how someone could possibly be happy with waking up every day, and you're basically suffering. You're putting your body under immense stress by moving this boulder. And like you get into it, it's like he doesn't even have to do the boulder, but for some reason he chooses to do it. And in that he finds a purpose, and in his purpose he finds happiness. So that's like lately like what I've been like things are going to be tough, but there's a way to be happy through it all in a sense. And even though I talk about the idea of what that guy said, now I'm not saying it's like I'm happy or I'm not happy, but it's like if I was to say I was happy, it would discredit the idea like that I'm not happy entirely with who I am. Like I'm happy with who like what I've been doing and the progress I've been making, but the moment I become truly happy with who I am, I stop becoming the person that I could be. You know what I mean? Like it's the idea of being content and comfortable. Like you are you content with yourself? And I think people should be content with themselves in a way, but I also think that people shouldn't be content with themselves in a way because they deserve more. They deserve better. Like I look at my surroundings, I look at my life, my circumstances, and I've learned to be happy through it all, but that doesn't stop me from like, implying or asking, is there more? And I know that there
All right.
is. Yeah, but you can go ahead. I've been going for a second.
So it's the process, right? It's the journey, right? That you have to fall in love with. It's not who you.
Yeah.
It's who you become. Sure, that's
Mm-hmm.
like the whole point of life. Forget
Yeah.
about the money. Forget about the material success. It's about who you become.
hundred
It's
percent.
the journey that you have to fall in love with. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough. Everything's gonna be up and down. But
Yeah.
once you can start enjoying the moment and enjoying the journey, then everything starts to make sense because then you can start thinking in the now. When you're always thinking in the future and the past, right? You're never happy because there's this expression that I love. It's called um, relaxation is who you are, and stress is what you think you should be.
Yeah. That.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's so true. I didn't start what you're realizing right now. I realized at 25, 26, so
Yeah.
only about a few years before you.
Yeah.
But that's when I was following my dream. I was connected to source, and I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Uh huh.
And I fell in love with the purpose. I fell in love with the journey, and I saw who I was becoming because I saw that everything was an opportunity for me to grow.
Yeah.
Everything was I was just trying to become a better version of myself, and every day, no matter if I failed or if I didn't, I knew it was going to be better no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And if I failed, if I had a bad interaction with somebody, I would come up with a solution to redeem that, and I just became this person. And Steve Jobs says this. He says you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking back.
Yeah.
So what you're doing right now, yeah, like you won't be able to see it right now until you look back. Like you do it consistently for a year, 2 years, and then you look
Mm-hmm.
back and be like, wow, I really did this. Like I really, whatever I'm doing, if I'm selling, if I'm had a business, whatever,
Yeah.
I did this every single day, and I didn't budge, and I stood my ground. And I stayed 10 toes down.
Yeah.
You're gonna look back on that in a couple years and be like, wow, and then that person, you become that person. It's weird. You become that person overnight, but
Yeah.
you don't become that person overnight. It takes you a couple years,
Oh
but
yeah.
then you realize it in 2 years, and then you become that person overnight.
Yeah. I feel like in a sense like I've had that mind shift overnight, but the mind shift doesn't like, fully set in. It's like what you're implying is like so in like the last even since like the last the three months that I've hit 29, I would say within the last 3 weeks or so, it's really been amping up. And it's like gotten to the point where like I basically at one point like I play video games. I'm playing a game right now, but like a couple months ago, like I deleted all the video games off my computer. I deleted Twitter, deleted all my social medias because I came to this idea that I was like, if something's not inherently bettering me or like giving me value, then it's taking away from my value.
Yeah,
And
yep.
and this whole thing, like the Saturn return, it comes around. Some people call it a quarter life crisis. I think the second Saturn return actually comes around 50, 60 when people do have that midlife crisis. And it kind of fuels that. And it's like, in a sense, it's like, I'm gonna be 30 next year. I look at it's like the older you get, you realize more and more that time is fleeting in a sense, and they keep telling you, how valuable time is. It's the only thing that you can't get back. So it's like I'm thinking like, how can I get as much out of my time and value like as possible. So it's like I've really
Right.
like I'm like nipping a lot of shit in the butt. I'm cutting a lot of my own bullshit. Like where if I'm standing around being lazy, or if I'm doing this, or if I'm doing that, I'm really trying to like I'm becoming a lot more consciously aware of the things that I'm doing, both physically and mentally. Like I've been trying to control my thoughts like more. So I sent you the book, that the thing, the master key. The master key is like the idea. It's like either your thoughts are a product of you, or you're a product of your thoughts, and it's like they both kind of come together. So it's like you have to make your thoughts a product of you. Most 99% of people are products of their thoughts. They don't control their thoughts. They don't even believe the way they're hardwired. It's like they don't even know if they can. So the master key is like it starts with like quieting your thoughts, and then creating and influencing thoughts. And it's a book I gotta read, but I believe in the idea of like I've read parts of it before. It's like law of attraction on crack. I believe also in the Akashic records that like in the back of our soul, in the back of our head, we know everything that there is to do. And if I align with like the frequency of the master key, it's kind of gonna open. It's gonna explain itself to me. The doors are gonna open for me. Um, so, but I feel like what I'm getting at is in the last 3 weeks, even I've had this profound, like, ideal shift within myself about what's right, what's not, both for me, for the world, all this stuff, selflessness, like controlling my thoughts, like just maturing in so many ways. I feel like I've grown up mentally so many years in the last 3 weeks. But I had this moment where like I couldn't stop talking to myself. I was like there was an internal dialogue where it was just this constant form of debate slash lecture from me, or whatever godly divine voice was inside of me, telling me, like, just giving, like, opening like my mind to things that I did not see before. Like I was having revelations 5 times a day. It wouldn't stop, and I loved it. But eventually, like, what, and it was more and more like every single day, and it got to the point where like I almost felt like my receptors in my brain, like I was so concentrated and focused for so long. And if you do you know anything about like neurology and like brain science?
Sure.
So when your brain goes into a certain state, it starts performing in a certain way. It starts producing these certain chemicals. So I have my brain in this certain state, doing these certain things for a purpose. But the truth is that eventually my brain is going to hit like an overdrive, not like an overdrive, but it's gonna feel depleted. Like I'm not gonna. It's like running. Like you can only run for so long before your legs literally give out, and then you have to go home, go to sleep, wake up the next day. You might be sore, but you have to let your muscles grow. When you go to the gym or when you work out, you're literally tearing your muscles apart. You're ripping everything apart so that it can grow back stronger. But you can't. It's a process where, like, what I'm getting at is you can't get the benefits of working out immediately. They come over time. So in my mind, it was like I had all these ideal shifts, and I believe I made so much progress, like mentally. But I was like, I know everything is like you said, like the ebbs and flows of life, like the phases. Like that was a phase where I was learning so much, and then I've seen this before in my life where I go through what I call like these upgrades, these little mini ascensions, where God, I feel like almost where the universe puts their hand over me and they just flood me with information for like a few weeks, and that like, and then out of nowhere, basically at my own request, I'll be like, all right, that's enough, and then it will stop. And basically, where I go from there is I have to apply the knowledge that I've learned. Before I move forward with who I am, it's like I have to let the stuff that I've learned and the ideals that I've come to kind of settle in.
Right.
So
Right. About the it's all right. So you know what the Four Agreements is? You ever read that book?
I've read it. I've read it a while ago. I don't entirely remember it, but I remember the gist of it. If you like if you mention something, I'll probably know what you're talking
All
about.
right. All right. So it pretty much just talks about changing your mind, changing your reality with your perception.
Yeah,
but it doesn't talk about really taking action,
perception
right?
change has been one of the biggest things I've had. But go ahead, yeah.
Sure. And my book is pretty much the four agreements, but with action. I talk
Okay.
about action
Yeah.
because that's what I learned. I learned because I was, when I first read that book, I was, just thinking positive and I didn't see results. And I was like, man, what the fuck is going on? And I was just like, all right, what fears am I, what's stopping me from doing this? And I started listening to like Eric Thomas and all these motivational speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started taking action, and then I started to see the results that I wanted.
Yeah.
And then, and then after a period of time, that's when I wrote that book. But that's what it is. Like, it doesn't matter how much you learn. Like I see these yogis,
Yeah.
they meditate 12 hours a day.
Yeah. But they never apply it
They
really.
just right. Like, you
Yeah.
gotta live life.
Yeah. I see
You
that.
gotta
Yeah.
fail. You gotta go out there and embarrass yourself. You gotta, learn how to be the person that you want to be.
100%.
You know. So it's definitely action, bro. Action is a huge part of this.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. Yeah. And I don't know. Like I look at like I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know. But I think it helps having that. Like people always like have this idea. Why did this happen to me? And now I've had this idea that everything is like, why did this happen for me? Um,
Right. Like, I get to do this
have you ever seen the movie The Revenant?
with Leo,
Yeah,
with that faggot.
the
Sorry.
bear, the bear. I don't. Yeah, but
They're all satanic pedophiles in my opinion, but yeah, okay,
but
I've seen it.
but the story of the Revenant is based on a true story. Hugh Glass. He was like a part.
Okay.
He wasn't a part Native American, but he was an American like settler like the 1800s who lived with Native Americans, and he like kind of learned how to trap and how to track and identify plants. He learned all this crazy stuff from the Native Americans, and so I won't even reference. I'll reference the actual story. And so Hugh Glass is helping a group of trackers, like American trackers, fur traders, I believe, find animals and then bring them back to camp. He's like their guide. And on their way back, he gets attacked by a bear. And it's like a brutal, brutal attack that basically would have killed anyone. And he gets abandoned by his scouting party, basically. And they leave him to die. And someone who should have died at the bear attack, now left in the middle of like Wisconsin or Michigan in the middle of the winter, he manages to get himself up and travel 200 miles from where they left him back to the camp. And it's just this idea that like it's the embodiment of the empowering human spirit, that the human spirit is capable of things that scientists will say is like physiologically impossible. And in that regard, it's like the idea to get up and
Well,
get.
yeah, because science doesn't go into the metaphysical.
Yes, this what this guy did was some there was some metaphysical like action that happened, and basically he had felt betrayed. He had like the idea of revenge and perseverance and redemption, all these things behind him, all these humanistic like things that were basically fueling him. But it was rather that's what this guy Brute. Everyone was like if you had one movie to recommend, it's like go watch The Revenant because it'll show you what the human spirit is capable of like pushing
Right.
through and accomplishing. Like
You know
that's
what? That's Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
And I
No, have you? Let me ask you. Have you been put in a situation where you felt like, because I feel like the gym, like being, physically active, is like really important to your mental health. So
yeah,
have you put yourself in situations like that where you're just like failing to succeed?
like yeah, for the most part. I mean, I used to be in the gym a lot. I used to be a professional breakdancer. I used to be going through like crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude, like 4 hours a day. But that was when I was younger, and I definitely got it from that. And I would almost say even that part is like it's. I wouldn't say it's easy for me, but it's almost easy in a sense where I'm like I need a different or a harder battle. But it's gotten to the point where I'm like everything I look at is like a battle that I'm trying to invoke the human spirit through and like accomplish. Lately I've been on the idea of intention and willpower within the self. So basically, if it like the power of intention, like when you tell your brain you're going to do something, your brain either backs you up or it doesn't based on if you've done it in the past. Like that's why like one of my pet peeves, like I don't let what other people do affect me because I really don't care. If they don't care, I don't care. Like how could I care for someone else? The only person I can truly like manage and affect is myself. So I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I've noticed that people do is like they'll always say like I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that, and then they 9 out of 10 times don't end up doing it. I mean, none of us are perfect. We've all been guilty of this, but I've taken psychology courses and I've done plenty of like research in that field, and I found that this has like a form of like a detrimental effect on your brain by saying like even if you're saying like I'm gonna go to the gym and you don't go to the gym, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna clean my room and you don't clean your room. Like if you just don't do this stuff, your brain gets to the point where it's like the next time you say you're gonna do something, your brain doesn't believe you. So it no longer is like working in your favor. And this is why again it's another one of these things that involve in theory basically controlling your thoughts. So I've gotten to the point these days where I'm like even if like you see a piece of trash on the ground and you say I'm gonna pick it up, and you pick it up, your brain's like okay, it's a self-fulfillment like rewiring within the brain where it's like if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, and your brain will like produce neurons and stuff to back you up and to help you do that. And
That's so funny you say that. I literally I do that with like pieces of trash that I have not thrown on the ground.
yeah,
I do that to myself
yeah,
just to prime my brain. That's funny you say that.
yeah, dude. It's the easy. It's like the crazy thing is it doesn't matter how big or small the task is. That's like why like some people who like do this as like a science will say like you should specifically do these little things just to when you have to do something big. Um, do it. And it's crazy because you could even say I'm gonna do nothing, and then if you actually do nothing, your brain is like, all right, he at least he listens to himself. So like it sets you up for the future. But I've been trying to create this willpower within myself where it's like I won't feel like doing something. Like for example, I was at my friend's house. I was staying at the boy that's joining my guy. He I was staying at his house for a few days because he's got like a crib to himself. I brought my computer over there. We're just chilling, smoking weed and shit. But I was in his basement, and half of his basement's like a mess. And I was like, in my own head, I was like, if I can clean this up and like create my own space, that would be cool. And I was like, I really like his basement. Like, I feel almost feel bad. Like, fuck, I wouldn't when he gets in here. I'm not gonna say anything about it. But this basement is fucking trash beyond belief. It looked like a hoarder home, and it was like the last thing that it wasn't even my home. Like it was the last thing that I wanted to do. But I told myself I was like, you're gonna do this. And then I would stop what I was doing and I would clean for an hour. Probably took me like I spaced it out across days, but across like course of like 2-3 days, I cleaned this basement. It took me like 4 hours. But it's the thing of saying, and again, grabbing that human spirit and saying I can do anything through the human spirit, and then like going and doing it. And that's like really where I'm at these days. Where like when something hard, it's like I really don't want to do something. It's like I make myself actually go and do it. And I believe by doing that, I'm rewiring my brain to have more control over it.
Right, 100%.
So yeah, it's funny. I did a lot, and like probably like a couple months ago, I was doing a lot of like self work, like a lot of shadow work. You know what shadow work is?
Of course.
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of shadow work, like digging into my shadow, like what's wrong. Like the shadow is obviously the repressed emotions, so I'm digging, doing all this work on this repressed emotions, and I got to the point where like, because it was causing like I would say almost forms of depression, insomnia, anxiety within myself, and like it's because it's like the inner you is crying out for help. So I did all this work to basically help that self, and now that I've done that, I'm trying to like move forward.
Right. Okay. So that's so important what you just said. My bad. I was
No,
trying
you're
to
good.
respond to you,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
you're
was
good.
trying
Yeah,
to go to the bathroom too at the same time.
I hear you.
Um. So, bro, you're the thoughts. Okay. This is the fucked up thing about religion when they tell you like
Yeah,
as a kid, just like don't think these thoughts, don't do this, you go to hell.
yeah.
But that totally that totally disregards your shadow self and makes you think that it's not okay to think these thoughts
I
and go through what you're going through,
100%.
which Right, right. So once you realize that the glory and the solution are is in your shadow self, is in these thoughts, these dark thoughts that you have,
Yeah.
like you're realizing it right now. Like
Yeah.
that's where you're gonna find out who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're gonna triumph over everything, because I went through that too. Like I went through I've had so many like self-inflicting or like self-harm, or not self-harm, I guess you would say homicidal thought. I just had dark
Yeah.
thoughts about hurting myself and hurting people.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, everybody does, but
And it's
like,
crazy, yeah,
just
that everyone does, and 99% of
but
people
but
don't
but
like.
nobody does anything about it. Like
Yeah,
nobody
100%.
knows how to do anything about it, because they've been told to not do anything about it, that it's just wrong. But like
Mm-hmm.
that's what's wrong with religion. They don't tell you to deal with it. They just
Yeah.
say it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go inside, you got to figure out what it is, and then when you do it like correctly, like with your heart, you know,
Yeah.
you'll figure out exactly who you are, and you're just like, wow, that was never even me. What are these thoughts? These thoughts aren't even mine. Then you're able to detach yourself from those thoughts and become whole with source, and understand what your purpose is and what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the whole religion thing because, like, I am very religious and spiritual in a sense. I don't ascribe to like Christianity or Catholicism. I do believe in Christ and all that stuff, and I like all the things he said. And it's funny because I pray the Rosemary. Like I do things that are Catholic, but if I had to say anything, I would say I'm a Christian. Like I don't go to mass and all that stuff. But I don't agree with a lot of things that the like Christian doctrine puts out there. And my girl is actually she was raised in a household where her dad was a pastor. Her dad she's like me going through all this like these like eye-opening revelations. I'm like seeing what I'm doing, but like the thing is like I talk about the idea like I don't like try to influence anyone, but someone like her who I basically have to spend the rest of my life with, like I believe in like you are who you hang out with, and if she's who I hang out with the most, I need to kind of in a way check her, like, and she's held me accountable for things, and and basically like I have to this point in life hold her accountable for things, and I had noticed that she like lately has been going through a lot and she's just been like I've been with her for over 2 years and I've just seen her now where I'm like there's just something that doesn't seem right with her. And I basically imply and like I think she said it. She's like, "Are you saying I'm depressed?" And I was like, "Oh, like," and she said she has ADHD, and she's like, "I'm not depressed. I have ADHD." And I'm like, "Well, do you think the two are connected?" And she just was like, like, and we didn't look it up. And I looked it up after she left, and they are connected. Like a lot of these things, like she has anxiety, she has OCD, ADHD, and a lot of these things are rooted together. And she's never considered, and basically, dude, she like breaks down crying on the idea that she might have depression. She kind of accepted it, and then she goes on to explain that because she's Christian, they basically imply that being depressed is a sin. So they don't want it to like, you don't want to think, you just don't think about it.
Hey, what the fuck? Well, hold on. Where does that come from? What do you mean it's a sin to be depressed?
It's a sin to have anxiety, to worry.
Who says that?
This is technically from the Bible, where it's like
Show
the
me a verse that
I
says
I
it's.
I, I got I did.
That's what I'm saying. That sounds like something a pastor has told people.
Let me try to find it. Um,
Because that's bullshit. That's fucking ridiculous. That's what I'm saying. That's that bullshit.
And
That's
it's
what I'm
funny because
saying.
I don't go to church, really. She goes to church and she always is like, "Oh, I want you to go to church with me," and I'm like, like it's not that I don't want to go to church. I'm more so I have a busy schedule and I just don't want to have to get up for it. I'll be completely honest. And I also have my own stigma that people go to church and they hear all these things and then they either forget them. But the truth is, it's like I feel like my life like is a church. I'm always at the altar, especially lately. Like I'm constantly in a state of prayer. I'm constantly in a state of reverence. You know, repentance. Like I'm constantly considering these things without going to church. Do you know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
and so I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say that I don't wait. I think I found it. It's James 1:13. We'll say to 18 because it's a long one. And they
Am I?
so we had this conversation Friday night, and I texted her Saturday. I was like, "Listen, if you want me to go to church with you Sunday, I will." And I go to church with her, and bro, I shit you not, the pastor says everything that I told her Friday night. Like, and I basically said one of the things we do to humans is when we think of sin, we think of smoking, sex, drugs, drinking, like we gambling. We think of the generic materialistic sins, but we don't think about the sins that we do to ourselves. Like I believe that in a sense that a lot of people lie to themselves. Like going back to the whole intention thing, if people do you follow through on what you do? A lot of people would be like, yeah, I do. And I'd be like, well, I could write down 10 times where I noted that you didn't. And they would almost come into a sense of self-denial and they would become defensive and they would explain why they couldn't do something or whatever. And what I've learned is, while that's like a defense mechanism, you will gain so much more by saying, I have been lying to myself. That's what I got that's the biggest revelation that I found in my recent journeys, is the idea that I have been lying to myself. I've been telling myself things that, and what I'm saying is whether or not they're true or not is besides the point. If I tell myself, "Oh, I've been doing good enough," and then I tell myself, "You've been lying to yourself. You haven't been doing all that you can do." What do I have to lose by agreeing with that and saying, "Okay, I'll try harder"? Like, have I not been the best to
Right,
to
right, right.
myself?
But that's the thing though. You have to have the right mindset for
Yeah,
it. Like I feel like okay, someone like you and me who are spiritually connected and understand the esoteric a little bit.
yeah,
Now, now when you have that understanding, you can understand religion and you can understand scripture a lot better because when you don't, when I was a kid, when I didn't have that knowledge, and they would say shit like, if you masturbate, you go to hell and stuff like that.
yeah.
It's just like, okay, all right,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make sense. Why are they saying it like that? Why aren't they explaining? You realize like, okay, all right, so being depressed is a sin is what they say. Okay, so now that I'm spiritually connected and I'm spiritually knowledgeable,
Yes.
maybe they're saying is, okay, maybe if I'm depressed and I stay in depression and then I take action on depression and I don't change my thoughts, then that becomes a sin. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't they don't
Yes.
they don't expand
Yes.
on it.
100%. Like I said, I go back to the beginning where I said if I die and I never reached my potential, I never became who God wanted me to become, that is the greatest sin of all. So it's
Mm-hmm.
and I said,
Yeah.
like, basically what I was implying to her was the idea of, like, maybe she's depressed and she's been lying to herself that she's not depressed. And again, you have nothing to lose. Like, I'll check. It's like about checking yourself, asking yourself, am I depressed? Am I lazy? And then saying, you know what? I don't know whether or not I am, but like if I am depressed, what can I do to pull myself out of it? What can I do to better that situation? Or if I am lazy, let me just work a little bit harder,
Right.
and then I won't be as
Right.
lazy. Like if someone
So
call,
if she has a pastor that's telling her that it's a sin to just be depressed, and
yeah,
he's just just leaving it like that, like fuck him.
I
He's a fucking Mason,
I
and he's a
think
fucking Satanist.
I think he kind of went into it a little bit more. He says some things that are good. I mean, there hasn't been a single pastor where I've been like 100% because my problem with pastors is it's like there's like this superiority. I would almost say superiority complex. I don't know. I'm trying to find. I don't. He might have added the part that I'm talking about, but it's James 1:13 where it says, people say, "Oh, am I tempted by God? For God cannot be tempted by evil, and He does not tempt anyone." And so, am I tempted to do these things, to have pride, to all that stuff? Like it's not coming from God; it's coming from within yourself. Um, but then it listed all these different things, and it started off with the generic ones like I listed, and then it got to the end where it was like pride, envy, anxiety. She said she saw depression. I don't even know if I saw depression, but I always say people see what they need to see. So, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so, but I don't. Yeah, I keep saying, I keep
Well,
saying,
no, well, you know what? I seen a how do I say it? Not a lecture. What is it called when a pastor speaks?
a sermon.
A sermon. Okay, I saw a sermon like a few weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about the Gnostics,
Yeah.
and this really turned me off to Christianity. I mean, I'm still, with Christ like you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when he talked about the Gnostics and said, "Hey, Gnostics talk about a New Age Christian, the spirituality where you don't need Christ, because the only one that can have Christ consciousness. When he said that,
He said
I was like,
Christ is the
okay,
only
this.
one that could have Christ consciousness.
Yeah, when he said that, that's when I was like, okay, see, these Freemasons, Satanists have infiltrated. They've already infiltrated the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
They've infiltrated the churches everywhere, and it's just that's who he is. That's what it is. I see it for what it is. I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, no, that's not the real Christ teaching. Like the Gnostics had it.
Dude,
The, the fact that he was talking shit about the Gnostics just showed me the state of how the whole world kind of wants everyone at this lower level of consciousness, which is
yeah,
bullshit.
yeah.
And nah, bro. It's the Gnostics were right and they had it right.
One of the things that like this is a good quote. I feel like I wouldn't have to ask you because you would get it. But when you go to church or you go to any of these places, you talk to a Christian. There's this idea that Christ is like a step above us, and that which isn't right or wrong. But they will also say to a sense that we will never embody Christ. That Christ did the things for us because we will never be able to do them. And I get where they're coming from with the whole him dying for our sins. But there's a line that Jesus himself says in the Bible. He goes, "See the works that I am doing, and know that you will do greater works," is what he says, word for word.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm asking people if you're telling me that I'm never gonna do what Christ did, but Christ himself said that I would, what were you referring to? And I found that basically every Christian or Catholic person will tell you something along the lines different. They'll say, "Oh, well, he meant this," or "He'll meant this," and it's open, and it's just so crazy because people interpretate things however they want to interpret it. Instead, like it's funny because I was explaining it to my girl who's Christian, and she, long story short, said that I shouldn't take it so literally. And I'm like, okay, well, when God denounced the idea of like stuff like divination or witchcraft and called it evil in the Old Testament, you guys took it literally, like hard stone literally. But if I take something that Christ said and try to take it a little literal, and again, what do I have to lose from thinking that I could do the work of Christ? I may never do the work of Christ, but shouldn't I wake up every day and try to be as much as I can like Christ?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you need to have that spiritual mindset first
Yeah.
to understand that. Like, if you're on that 3D level,
Yeah.
you're just gonna you're gonna be stuck there. You have to expand. You have to go above. And Christ was right because he says it. And
hmm
okay, so at the Council of Nicaea, right? You familiar with that?
No, you can go ahead and explain it.
The Council of Nicaea is when like all the churches came together, or when all the priests or whoever that was in charge at the time came together and said, "All right, we're putting this in the Bible. We're taking this out."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what happened. They took out a bunch of books and they took out the spirituality, and
Yeah.
they left hints inside.
Yeah.
And all the hints, like when Jesus said, "I am the Father, the Father is within, ye are gods,"
Yeah.
like he's telling you right there.
I
But it's
know.
only like little bits and pieces, and like you ask a pastor, just like, no, 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 it's
No,
only
no, no.
for Christ.
Yeah,
Jesus
I
said, no,
know.
like,
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think it's so funny because people will be like, I try to do what God says to do, not what people say to do. And then we go and we take the words of the Catholic Church, our pastor, and we walk away with them like they're, factual. Like that's what God told us to do. And like, I don't. The reason why I don't ascribe to going to church is because I don't ascribe to listening to or following any man that isn't God or
mhm,
Christ in that body.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah, because you feel good. Look, because you feel good on Sunday, right? Like,
yeah,
okay, for like just think about the average person that goes to church.
yeah,
You feel great. You got the
mm-hmm,
God's love. Everyone's around you. You feel the
yeah.
same
You
energy.
you didn't want to go, but you made yourself go because,
Right. You
yeah,
feel good, no
mm-hmm,
problem. And
yeah,
then the next day it's gone,
yeah. Basically, that's what
right?
yeah,
Because you relied on external energy. You relied on something that's outside of yourself. You picture God outside of yourself, which is what the pastor was saying.
yeah,
And you took it that way.
yeah.
But if you don't take it that way, you don't have to only feel good on Sunday. You can feel that way Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, that's me, and that's why I say again, I don't say that nobody doesn't need to go to church, but in my opinion, I don't see it like as a requirement to my journey. Like it's so funny because we went to church, me and her, and she said it was hard for her to hear what he had to say because it was some things that she didn't want to hear, and she's like, "What did you think?" And I was like, I mean, I understood and got everything he was saying. I didn't. He did say at one point, There's a line in the Bible again where Christ says, someone asked Jesus Christ, how can we do the Lord's work? And Christ said, this is the Lord's work, is to believe in him who had sent me. And then he goes on and he says, who is him? Christ, Jesus Christ. And I was like, wait. Jesus Christ said, believe in him who sent me. So why would he be distinguishing? Like, in that regard, Christ was saying, believe in God. The glory of the work of God is to believe in him. Who is him when Christ is talking? Christ is not saying him about himself. No one refers to themselves in third person, right? So, like, it would be weird if I'm talking about myself as him or his. Like, but Christ was saying him, talking about someone else. So who is that someone else in this regard? The only person it could be is who sent him. That's what he says word for word. Who sent Christ? God. That's who we should believe in. Christ himself said, go believe in God. And somewhere along the lines, we misinterpreted it and took it and said, we have to believe in Christ. And I think Christ himself said, believe in me, yes, but believe in the person more so that sent me. And people, like, they don't mention that. They don't really get into the idea that,
I'm so conflicted with that when it comes to Christ being God.
Yeah.
And I get the idea that I'm God. I've already came to that conclusion.
Yeah,
I
I have that same thing from a humble standpoint. I would never say I'm God or something, but I definitely believe that God is in all of us and that we are all God in a way. But if
right. But people say that he is just God in human form. It's like, man, that doesn't really make sense to me, because if he really was God in human form, like, none of this would be happening right now. Satan wouldn't have his little short season, and this we'd all just be in pure love.
Yeah.
I think he's just like one of us, bro. He's just like one of us, and he realized, like, I am God, and which is what we are. Go ahead. Because the real God is within us, right? You're not going to connect to God externally. You're going to connect to it internally. Now, is God outside of ourselves, right? Everything is consciousness. Sure, I believe that. But you're not going to have that real connection. You're not going to really have God. You're going to have like a muzzled, static connection with God. And when you think of it externally, it has to be internal.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's exactly what Jesus, because look, if God really came down, if God made himself a person, and came down, like, literally,
yes,
wouldn't this all be just pure love and be living great?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
It don't make sense to me. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but
there's again, the big thing so if we go back to what I said about, like, the believe in him who sent me is Jesus Christ, and you say, well, I think he was referring to God. Christians will tell you, well, Jesus Christ is God. And it's funny because this is one of those moments where things happen, like, you know what a synchronicity is, like, like, my life has absolutely been full of them in a sense, and I've felt this way for like last, I would say, 8 years. I've been someone who's very rather superstitious, where I say everything is a sign if you know how to read, and then once you interpret everything as a sign, the signs will become clearer. And long story short, like, when these things happen, all that it really tells me at the core is that I'm on the right path. Because if you're reading the signs right, you're following the directions to where you need to go. That's what a sign is. It points you in the right direction. So if you're aware of these signs, because you could see a sign and say, no, I'm going the other way, and that's fine. But if you want to, go that way. So me and my girl are at breakfast after church talking about the sermon. I talked to her about the whole Christ said we'll do greater works, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. We had this really, like, in-depth conversation. And then we're getting up, and of course, we're, like, at this little diner. There's this table next to us. There's 3 people. And there's, like, this older gentleman who's, like, in a suit. I could tell he either just came from church or mass or something. And he was like, I couldn't help overhearing your guys' conversation. And he said one thing I didn't really hear, but he said another thing. And I'm so glad he said it, because he said it to her more so, who needed to hear it than me. And it's funny because I looked at him, like, both Catholics and Christian believe that Christ and God are one and one. And this guy, I didn't know if what he said was kind of unorthodox. And I was like, maybe he's Catholic, and this is what Catholics believe, and it's not. He says, Exorcist 33 or Exorcist 33:23 or something. And the verse is, when it's funny because you go by Moses, right?
Yeah.
This is Exodus 33 when God is talking to Moses. He told Moses, what is the actual verse? Because I hate when they try to give me an explanation of the verse and not just give me the fucking verse. Like, I want to. And he said, and he is God in this, and he said, you cannot see my face, for there shall be no man to see me and live. God himself said, no man can see him and live. So if we saw Jesus Christ and lived, did we see God?
Okay.
And he left us with that, and and like we went home. But I was like, that's freaking great. Like that. Next time a pastor tries to tell me that Christ and God are the same thing, and it's funny because I've had these kind of questions for pastors and stuff, and every time I bring it up, it's almost like they're implying that I don't understand it, and they try to explain it, and I'm like, I don't want you to. I have my own understanding of it. I want you to consider it. And that's the thing is that people I've found are so stubborn. And I go back to the whole lying thing. I think the biggest thing people need to do in their life is say, "Hey, I've been lying to myself about something." We're all wrong in some way or the other, and until we admit that and accept that, I don't believe we are going to move forward at all. Does that make sense? So like
Yeah.
when Christians are saying this is the truth, I'm like, well, if you consider that it's not, and you go like it could be the truth is what I'm saying, but consider it's not and go reprove it, go reestablish the facts and see if it takes you to a different end where it might be the truth, but the truth might have a little bit of alteration to it. And I believe
Here's the thing that they don't tell you.
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's all I wanted to say.
Well, here's the thing. They don't tell you to think for yourself. They just tell
No,
you this is what
definitely.
it is.
And that's why I don't like pastors
And
specifically, like
yeah, okay. So here's the thing. Like they're just people like us, and they've been told what they've been told, and they might have thrown their little swing on it here and there, but at the end of the day, like they don't tell you to think for yourself. And that's the thing is like you can read the Bible and interpret it yourself.
yeah, you
You don't
can.
you don't have to have.
That's
Okay,
me,
so who's a
yeah.
pastor? Someone that studied the Bible for 4 years. Okay,
And who is
look, I know
equally in
I've
theory
studied
as
with I've studied in yeshiva. I've studied in yeshiva and studied with a couple many rabbis,
yeah.
and and I disagree with many of them because I know how to think for myself. I had that realization,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, man, I realize these guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like I can think for myself. I can do this.
Yeah. The
You know?
moment someone stops and says, maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, is the moment they finally figure out what they're talking about.
That's the key. That's the key to enlightenment is
Yeah,
knowing how much you don't know.
exactly. And it's like they try to tell you, like, they try to put it in a way where we know everything. And it's like, again, this is the thing to me where they talk about the difference between God and Jesus. And I'm like, you have to understand that, and that if the way we're putting them, they're going to have a different understanding than we will ever have. So we have to wholeheartedly admit that maybe our understanding is wrong, because we're not God, right? We're not perfect. So what are the chances we have the perfect interpretation? They're like it's 0 to none. But you go there and they
Yeah.
basically imply that they do. I did hit my boy up to see. I told him around this time, and he said he'd be on, but I just texted him. So when he gets back to me, we can bring him on.
Oh, that's cool. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know if it's too loud in the background. Is it too loud?
No, it's all right. It was at first, but it's kind of like dialed down.
This isn't too loud.
No, it's fine now.
Okay.
But me and him were talking about the idea of like when a soul, like, have you ever heard like you know Samsara, right? And like the reincarnation cycle.
Yes.
So they believe that there are.
Yes. I.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you. Go ahead.
But in Samsara, there's been other people like you've talked about channelers, right? Like Dolores, what's her name?
Yeah, Dolores Cannon,
Yeah,
Bashar.
yeah.
Yeah.
These types of people say like there's this idea of this soul and spirit rebirth, where when your soul's like either it's not here, like you're waiting on a reincarnation, you kind of choose. It's like you're playing a game where you choose your avatar, where your soul sees your body, it sees your kind of like prophecy or what you will fulfill, and it jumps into that body and
Yeah.
it hits go, and it's like
Yeah.
and it's like because you come here for some people to kind of in a sense serve a purpose. And people like Dolores Cannon say right now that purpose is to raise the frequency of the earth. So we come
Yeah.
back by, even if we don't spread this knowledge the way that we can, by raising our own frequency in that regard, we are indirectly raising the collective frequency of the earth.
Right.
And we are changing actively the idea. You've heard of like quantum timelines and stuff that like a
Yeah,
million,
I'm all about this. Yeah.
yeah, multiple timelines exist, but every decision that happens influences the course of the timelines. And this is like the idea of like by adjusting our frequency, we are changing the outcome of the future. And yeah, that goes into the whole
Yeah,
theory.
it's interesting to me because I'm like kind of conflicted a little bit with this theory because there's also the good, right? There's a good version and there's a bad version, evil version of it, which
Yes.
is that we're kind of in a reincarnation cycle, like a soul trap matrix.
Yes. But that
And
I believe that's like the general population. They would like they would say that the people like us specifically are souls that either not technically broke out of samsara, but kind of idled in the reincarnation cycle. That we kind of, I wouldn't say like mastered it, but we understood it in our past lives to get to the point like where we're not reincarnating the way other people are. The fact that we're asking questions like people are subconsciously trapped in this cycle because they're addicted to the physical reality that the Bible says is sin. They say that the world is created of sin, and they're not wrong, and that the human body, more so than the soul and spirit, is addicted to sin. So we're addicted to this physical existence. We are addicted to love. We're addicted to, living life and making connections and falling out of it and getting wisdom and acquiring material possessions, and then we die and we lose it all, and we want it to happen again. So in our lives, we kind of set ourselves up subconsciously to get caught in this cycle. And the moment a person wakes up and says, have I been the one that has got me caught in this cycle? And like the samsara cycle, you could break, like everything is in a weird way like contrast absolute. Like you have the cycle of life at samsara, but then you have the cycles in your own life, like the smallest single cycle, and that could be a cycle like of what you do every day is what I'm getting at. And it's these like we are all caught in a cycle of life. A lot of us are caught in our ways, and the thing is, until we say, can I break out of my ways, can I escape this, is the moment the soul escapes samsara. Do you know what I mean? Like
right, but that also goes into the suffering,
like
because
yeah,
we're in a comfortable state, right? Like how do I break out of what I'm, all right, you have the realization, and then you're stuck in the patterns and the habits that you're in right now, and you can't just break out of it overnight. You can theoretically, like in your mind, you can, but like you still have all these habits and everything that you've done, which will keep you stuck. So you have to like break those cycles, which is like, just say if you're scared of talking to women, right?
Yeah.
You need to go and put yourself in uncomfortable situations and see that you're actually that person that can be a communicative savant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You might need to go to the bar, or you might need to go to the local gym, or you might need to go to wherever and go make a fool of yourself a couple times to finally get a couple numbers, and then realize, hey, you know what? Like,
I can
I'm
do
actually
this.
kind of good at this, and you actually broke through that.
Yeah.
That was it for me. That was actually one of the examples for me. Like when I was younger, I was deadly scared to talk to women, and then I took that route of just like, just going up to
it's
5
definitely
to 10 women a day. Yeah, and just breaking out of that fear. It's that fear cycle that you keep yourself in.
Yeah.
And when you break yourself out of that, it's that freeing. You feel so free.
It's more than just getting like a number. It's like in the back of your soul, you're realizing that you're capable of the thing that you thought you weren't capable. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that with me was, I've always been like someone, like my parents were divorced. I had like all through my shadow work, I had this like, I could explain the idea that my parents, I felt like didn't really care about me. Obviously they loved me as their kid, but I believe like, that I'm not the kid that they wanted entirely, that I've never had any of my parents ever tell me they're proud of me, and it just leads me to this idea, like my whole life, like I would do so much and like they wouldn't even pay attention. They'd be like, "You're lazy. You don't do anything." And I would force myself to go and do more. And it was this fear that I'll never be worthy. And I had to, and that one was harder than the women thing because I had to realize in my head that I'm not going to be worthy or not worthy based off of someone else's external validation. Like, I have to realize in my head that I am worthy. In the same way you realized in your head, I can get this girl's number. I can, like, you know, be like like I can do or not do in
Wow.
that regard.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah. You know what's so funny? All
what?
right. So I'm at a bar. I'm at a bar right now,
Yeah.
and there was no music playing.
Uh huh.
There was no music, and then everyone was quiet.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, someone put in some money and played it in the whatever this digital jukebox is, and
Mhm.
everyone started talking again and acting like they were best friends. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, holy shit, like these people need to rely on better energy for them to be in that state.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't rely on themselves, like
Yeah.
to keep the vibe. They had to create a vibe. You know what I mean? That's what
Yeah.
you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah. You people like that. Yeah. People kind of rely on the energy of others, but the reality is that in your own again through the human spirit can create anything. And if you're externally relying on other things, it's like, is that really? That's the thing. Like, if I'm worthy because someone tells me I'm worthy, am I actually worthy, or am I just taking their word for it? Like,
Yeah,
it,
you took it at word.
yeah. If people are at the bar in a good mood and they're talking and they're optimistic because music's playing, are they actually, in a good mind
Right.
state?
How authentic are the conversations? How authentic is the connection?
Exactly.
Yeah, and just from what I saw, zero,
Huh.
completely.
It usually is, and it's kind of sad because people don't believe that they can produce it themselves, and that's another thing. I found there's a big self belief problem in this world that nobody believes that they can actually do anything. People don't believe that they're kind of worthy of the things that they want or the things that they think they deserve. Even if they think that they do, that's why I go back, they're lying to themselves. They're like, I was lying to myself in a sense, but like not in that it's hard to explain. Not like I'm not lying to myself in the idea that I deserve good things. I'm lying to myself that I think I do. Like if I tell myself, do I believe in myself? I'm like, I know that in the back of my heart and my soul, I know that I should, and I know that I have to, and I know that I do. But like, have I been doing things that have been leading me down a path that have been creating? And this goes back to the whole intent thing and why I think intention is so important. Because if you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it, your brain doesn't believe in you. And that bleeds into other shit where I'm saying your brain doesn't believe in you, period. It doesn't matter if it has to do with this or that. It just means that it's no longer believing what you're telling yourself. And if you tell yourself I deserve good things, your brain doesn't believe you anyway. So why would it believe that? And in the deep down, people don't believe them in themselves either. So it's like that's why I think it's so important to do what you say you're gonna do, and like, and if you don't, be very vocal and open with yourself as to why you didn't, and also like that you need to be better. Like people just don't take accountability. Like I'm trying to take all the accountability in the world.
Everything is your fault. That's how I live.
That
I
that
live that
a hundred
to a T.
percent.
Everything is my fault. If,
Yeah.
if I didn't get a number, if I didn't make the money,
Mhm.
if I didn't make a connection, it's my fucking fault. I don't care how much it's not my fault. It's my fault
Yeah.
because I could have done something
Because
to change it. I
you're
could have,
you're not gonna benefit from blaming something else. If you blame the result on an external uncontrollable factor like the weather or the mood of the girl, like you can't change that. You can't change the weather. You can't change her mood. But if you go
you
and
can't
just
you can't. Sorry.
if you go in yourself and say, could I have responded to it differently? The answer is usually yes. It's always yes in that regard. So,
Yeah.
but like I don't want anything to be anyone's fault in my life. Everything is my fault because that gives me more control over my life.
Yes, 100%. You can't call yourself spiritual unless you're not, because when you understand spirituality, you understand that everything is subjective. Everything comes from your world, no matter what.
My boy just hit me up, so
So
I'm about Adam to call. Let me see if I can get him in
okay.
here.